Hello and welcome to this edition of Arirang News. I'm Lee-Jun in Seoul. Korea and the U.S. have wrapped up their negotiations over their bilateral free trade agreement, removing Seoul from Washington's crosshairs in regards to steel imports, while giving more benefits to American automakers. Now, the deal comes at a time when concerns have been growing over a potential global trade war, as the U.S. has been slapping high tariffs on imports from countries around the world. But the news of a revised trade deal between Korea and the U.S. has helped to ease some anxieties about damaging tariffs for one of Asia's biggest economies. And before I sit down with an expert to talk more about the revised KORUS FTA, let's first head over to Devin Whiting at the News Center for the latest headlines at this hour. Devin, take us away.
Hi, Jian. We start in Beijing, where reports say a high-ranking North Korean official has arrived, possibly Kim Jong-un himself. Security in the Chinese capital has been extra tight, and a motorcade was spotted heading to a state guest house. Nothing's been officially confirmed, nor is anything likely to be until the visit is over, but there's also speculation the visitor could be one of Kim's aides or other top officials. Oh Jung-hee has the latest.
A high-ranking North Korean official is in Beijing. It's not clear who exactly it is, but speculation points to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, his sister Kim Yo-jong, or North Korea's de facto second-in-command Choi Ryong-hae. A convoy was seen in Beijing after 10 o'clock Monday night, heading from the Great Hall of People towards Daewitai State Guest House, where high-level foreign visitors stay. Citing unidentified sources, Bloomberg reported that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un had made a surprise visit to Beijing, but added that no further details were available. Japanese media also reported a special train similar to the one previous North Korean leader Kim Jong-il used for his China visit was spotted in Beijing. It was reported that security around the city was extra tight, with several trains delayed and tourists cleared from the area near Tiananmen Square. A Chinese military source told Reuters that the possibility of the figure being Kim Jong-un cannot be ruled out. But South Korean media are also suggesting that the figure could be Kim Yo-jong, who came to South Korea as Pyongyang's special envoy last month, or Choi Ryong-hae, a close aide to Kim Jong-un. South Korea's presidential office says it's been aware of such movements since a few days ago, but does not know exactly who is in Beijing. China's foreign ministry says it knows nothing about the alleged visit, while Washington says it cannot verify reports of the trip and does not know if they're necessarily true. If the figure visiting China is Kim Jong-un, then this will be his first known overseas trip since taking power in 2011. And this trip comes ahead of his summits with South Korean President Moon Jae-in and U.S. President Donald Trump in April and May. In 2007, Kim's late father, Kim Jong-il, visited China 2 weeks before his talks with former South Korean President Kim Dae-jung. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, South Korean President Moon Jae-in is in the United Arab Emirates for his first official visit to the Middle East since taking office last year. As President Moon nears the end of his trip, the Blue House says the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi has ordered his aides to sign $25 billion worth of contracts with South Korean firms. Our Moon Kan-yang reports.
The United Arab Emirates, although its ties with South Korea stretches back nearly 40 years, it's only been in the last decade or so that the relationship got stronger. Well, that partnership just got bumped up to a whole new level in the desert sand dunes of Baraka, nearly 240 kilometers away.
From the capital, Abu Dhabi, a roughly 3-hour drive through endless sand dunes, stands a nuclear power plant under construction. This is the Baraka nuclear power plant, a $20 billion nuclear plant which is Seoul's first attempt to build an atomic reactor abroad. The first of its 4 reactors being built in the UAE's western desert near the Saudi border is scheduled to come online this year, making it the first nuclear power plant on the Arabian Peninsula. But it's more than that. It's a symbol of trust between South Korea and the UAE, according to the leaders of the two countries. South Korean President Moon Jae-in traveled to Baraka on the 3rd day of his 4-day official visit to the UAE, and accompanying him, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan of Abu Dhabi. There, the two leaders declared work on the first reactor at Baraka complete.
아부다비 서부 지역의 한일 사업에 있어서 한국의 스테이트주의 그렇게 약속을 했습니다.
The South Korean president said the UAE has vowed to vouch for South Korea as Saudi Arabia is slated to pre-qualify several international companies next month to bid for building 2 nuclear reactors. Crown Prince Mohammed took to Twitter to thank President Moon for his country's cooperation in the nuclear plant project, saying the achievement is historical for the UAE energy sector and said their work together is an exceptional model relationship. Senior Blue House officials traveling with the president unveiled that the powerful Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi has given his word that $25 billion worth of various projects will be given to South Korean firms. Sources familiar with the issue say these are contracts that had been put on hold by the UAE over its objection regarding a possible change to a secret military cooperation deal made between Seoul and Abu Dhabi under the Lee Myung-bak administration in 2009. If true, the $25 billion green light from Crown Prince Mohammed may be a signal that any kind of issues there may have had been, whether military or not, have been smoothed out completely during Mr. Moon's visit to the Gulf nation.
From mending the fences to building trust and friendship between the two countries, the two leaders, it looks like President Moon Jae-in leaves with what he came for, Al-Rafiq Qabl al-Tariq, to choose a companion for a long journey ahead. From Abu Dhabi, the UAE, Moon Gon-young, Arirang News.
Changes are in the works to South Korea's constitution, but there's no guarantee they'll go through. The government's already submitted its own proposal, and starting today, lawmakers in Parliament will be holding talks on a version of their own. But they're deeply divided over what kind of changes need to be made and when. Kim Min-ji reports.
The floor leaders from the country's 3 major parties are rolling up their sleeves for earnest negotiations from Tuesday to craft a proposal on amending the constitution. They agreed to make concrete efforts a day earlier after President Moon Jae-in submitted his own proposal, adding extra pressure on the National Assembly for its lack of urgency on the matter. The 3 parties will discuss the most contentious areas: the power structure, electoral system, reform of power organs, and timing of a referendum. The ruling Democratic Party of Korea says it's willing to engage in in-depth discussions with the opposition, adding that now is a time for the rival parties to put aside their political interests and think only of the people when crafting a proposal. The party also stressed that it's the people's wish to hold a referendum alongside local elections in June, and that if they lose this opportunity, public interest in the matter could wane. However, the main opposition Liberty Korea party remains strongly against holding a referendum in tandem with the local elections, saying the government and ruling bloc is seeking to foster a favorable environment to win votes. The Conservative Party also said it will cooperate with other opposition parties in order to change the presidential system to give more authority to a prime minister. The centrist Padamita party said that while it would be best to hold a referendum in June, the content of the amendment is more important than the timing. It also noted that the core of the revision should be changing the power structure to reduce the president's massive powers, calling on the ruling and main opposition parties to take a responsible stance in negotiations. Should the parties fail to reach a consensus on a proposal of their own, they will have to put the president's proposal up for a vote in late May. But for it to take effect, it requires 2/3 backing from the country's 293 lawmakers and a majority approval in a referendum. Eyes will be on the National Assembly over the next month to see whether they can strike a last-minute deal on a proposal of their own. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
I'm Devin Whiting, and those are your news headlines for this hour.
Korea has agreed to a number of demands from the U.S. on cars, but did win over guarantees for its agriculture and steel sectors, including a permanent exemption from Trump's new tariffs of steel imports. Our Kim Hae-sung has more.
Right after he reported to the cabinet, South Korea's Trade Minister Kim Hyun-jong held a press conference Monday to explain the results of the negotiations on the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement.
Uncertainty has been growing in the global market following the US plan to impose sanctions on China, and the latest agreement has removed two of those uncertainties. One, South Korea is exempt from the steel tariff. Second is the Korea-US Free Trade Agreement.
Kim, Seoul's point man on trade talks said South Korea is the first country to receive an indefinite exemption from Washington's 25% steel tariff measures. Currently, 5 countries, including Canada and Mexico plus the EU, received a temporary exemption from the U.S. import duties on steel and aluminum that went into effect last week. In exchange, the U.S. will introduce a steel import ceiling. South Korea's quota will be set at 2.68 million tons of steel exports a year, or 70% of its average annual shipments to the U.S. between 2015 to 2017. Seoul has also agreed to lift some of its safety and environmental regulations and allow U.S. automakers to ship Korea up to 50,000 vehicles each, up from 25,000 previously. Tariffs imposed on Korean pickup trucks exported to the U.S. will be extended by 20 years to 2041. South Korea, on the other hand, secured revisions to the investor-state dispute settlement clause and other areas it has demanded since the start of the trade talks.
We defended the red line. There is no further opening of agricultural markets or mandatory use of U.S. auto parts.
In addition, the two sides agreed to improve the transparency of the trade dispute settlement process, which covers issues like anti-dumping duties. The tentative agreement comes less than 3 months since the first round of trade talks began in January. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin also described the agreement as an absolute win-win in an interview with Fox News Sunday local time. South Korea's trade ministry said working-level officials are ironing out the details so that Seoul and Washington can finalize their amendments to the 6-year-old trade deal soon. Kim Hae-sung, Arirang News.
And to tell us more about the revised Korea-US FTA and what changes we can expect in regards to trade with the U.S. from here on, Professor Lee Jae-min from the Seoul National University School of Law joins us in the studio today. Welcome to the program.
Great to be here again. Thank you.
So I think this agreement on the revised FTA between Korea and the U.S. came a bit earlier than expected, especially considering the ongoing negotiations over the NAFTA deal, right?
Right, that's right. It came in less than 3 months since it officially began, which is very short, and through just 3 rounds of talks, which is also quite unusual, given the complexities regarding these negotiations. So it came quite earlier than expected. That's true.
So this agreement is especially notable in that sense because there are some rising trade tensions between advanced economies around the world, including the U.S. and China as well.
Right, that's right. The Sino-U.S. trade friction is on the rise, and it may be the case that the United States wanted to deal with the Korean issue first, to reduce the number of fronts that it's facing. So that may have affected why the United States has been relatively quick in dealing with Korea to agree upon the amendment of the Korea-US FTA.
So you're saying Korea was kind of in the beginning of the negotiations for the U.S. in this region?
Yes. That will be the start of the U.S. Adjustment of its own trade deals in the region, starting with the Korea-US FTA. So we'll have to see what will come out from the NAFTA deal and what the United States will do in its TPP, now called the CPTPP, whether it rejoins the regional deal or not.
Okay, because it withdrew from it for now, right?
Yes.
Now, let's look at the details of the revised deal then. I mean, first and foremost, the revised deal gives more benefits to American automakers. Tell us more about this.
Right. So it seems that the biggest winner from this amendment is the U.S. automakers. And Korea has made some notable concessions. The first concession is that Korea has agreed to postpone the elimination of tariffs on its pickup truck to the United States. So right now, Korea is not exporting pickup trucks, but I heard that Korea is preparing for the export of its pickup trucks to the United States. Right now, the tariff rate is set at 25%, and the original schedule was to eliminate the tariff at in 2021.
Okay.
And that deadline has been pushed backward, pushed forward, pushed back to 20 more years, which is 2041, which is a significant concession on the side of Korea for the benefit of the U.S. manufacturers.
So in exchange for that, Korea has been exempt from those heavy tariffs imposed by the Trump administration on steel imports.
Exactly. So that's also the benefit that Korea has secured from this negotiation, and Korea now has been exempted permanently, not temporarily, but permanently from the proposed 25% heavy tariff rates on steel imports to the United States, which is a significant outcome for Korea.
What are some of the other countries affected by Trump's steel imports tariffs?
So right now, only Canada, Mexico, and now Korea and Australia are exempted from the tariff imposition, and other countries are still waiting to see what will happen to them, and it's not entirely clear yet what will be the final package to be imposed by the United States.
So there are chances that we could see some other countries being exempt.
Yes,
from
I think that's possible. That's possible. So we'll have to see.
Okay. Now, Seoul's Trade Minister Kim Hyun-jong also said there will be no additional opening of South Korea's agricultural market, despite a strong demand from the U.S. to open it up further. What happened there?
Right, it's a good news. Everybody knows how volatile and controversial the Korean agricultural market is. It's a good news that Korea has been successful in defending its agricultural market in this amendment negotiation, and in exchange for that position, I believe Korea perhaps had to make a concession in other key sectors, again, including the automobile sector.
Okay. So, I mean, what has been the demand from the U.S. in regards to the agricultural market here?
Well, United States has argued that its agricultural products could have the advantage, the competitive advantage in the Korean market. And it wanted to expand the access of its products to the Korean market. And it wanted Korea to deal with its alleged NTBs, non-tariff barriers, such as sanitary reasons or other health reasons, etc., that may affect the importation of the U.S. products, U.S. agricultural products to the Korean market. So those issues have been on the table, but at least for now, agricultural issues have been taken care of through this negotiation.
Now, the Korean government seemed quite satisfied with the result of the renegotiated FTA between Korea and the U.S. Now, what's your assessment of the revised deal?
That's a very difficult question. I think this is a good deal for Korea. Korea has to give up something, but Korea has secured something in return. So largely, I think this is a win-win situation for Korea and the United States. I think the biggest benefit for Korea for now is that now through this deal, we are now eliminating the uncertainties and uneasiness in the bilateral trade. So we have seen a series of trade disputes between Washington and Seoul for several months now, which is quite unusual given how the two countries have been dealing with each other. So this is an unusual situation, and now with this deal, we are now able to deal with. Now we are able to move forward and then get away with the unclear situation between the two governments and now in the market as well.
Right, because Korea and the U.S. have been involved politically as well regarding North Korea and the upcoming talks with North Korea. But then with trade, we've been moving in different directions. Now this kind of brings the two countries together.
Exactly. This is time for cooperation, at least for now.
At least for now. We'll keep our eyes on that. So what impact will the deal have on different sectors from now on, especially on Korea's auto and steel makers?
Well, Korean steel industry has now some breathing room for now because it is now exempted from the U.S. imposition of tariffs. But that is just the situation for now. And it is very possible that United States will pursue its trade remedy investigation which means anti-dumping investigation, countervailing duty investigation, and again, safeguards investigation against the steel products. It's always possible. So the steel industry should stay vigilant to that situation in the future. So this is not the end of the story, but United States will continue to look into the Korean situation, the situation of the Korean exports to the U.S. market. That is also applicable to automobile industry. So automobile industry of Korea has been under scrutiny by the U.S. government for a long time, and that scrutiny unfortunately will continue, and they will closely look at the development of the Korean exports to the U.S. market.
Now, kind of going along with what you said with safeguards, because back in January, Trump approved safeguards against Korean large washing machines, as well as solar modules and solar cells. Now, what will happen to those safeguards?
Well, those safeguards will continue to remain.
Okay.
So FTAs, unfortunately, do not have a direct relationship with safeguards or anti-dumping investigations. So unfortunately, they will remain. Of course, they are closely related.
Right.
But at least superficially, United States, and for that matter, Korea too, anti-dumping investigation is one issue, one matter. But FTA negotiation is quite another. So in that respect, unfortunately, the safeguards will continue to be imposed on Korean large washing machines and solar cells.
Okay. Now, there has been growing fears over a global trade war between world superpowers. But with the closure of renegotiations on the Chorus FTA, can we say, I mean, is it fair for us to say that there are now reduced risks, trade risks stemming from the United States for Korea?
I would say so. I would say so. This is a good development. But again, just for now. And we will have to be careful in dealing with the United States, and largely in dealing with the protectionism from not only from the United States, from other countries as well. And unfortunately, the tendency of protectionism is spreading continuously. And as long as we have that tendency, I think, unfortunately, the trade friction or trade restriction will continue to be imposed, continue to be explored and then imposed, including products from Korea, unfortunately. So good news for now, but this is just the beginning of the long saga from now onward.
Right, because it's especially concerning considering that Korea exports so much stuff to the U.S. compared to how much U.S. exports to us, right? So what are some of the countermeasures you think the Korean government could come up with in order to deal with whatever is ahead of us?
One way to address the situation is to pursue the legal options available under the FTA now and available also under the WTO. But legal options are possible, but there is also inherent limitation. And the best way, or one way we can explore, is that the coordination between government and industries and coordination among industries themselves will be more critical in navigating this territory because this is the first instance that Korea has ever encountered this type of multi-frontal and multi-dimensional trade friction from many countries.
Right. I think I like the legal option because that's what the Trump administration used as well when imposing the tariffs on steel, right?
That's right. That's right.
Now, aside from Korea, we've been hearing that the U.S. has been preparing to get some negotiations under its works with other countries around the region. In fact, the Wall Street Journal reported on Monday that the U.S. and China have been having behind-the-scenes trade negotiations to get more American access to Chinese markets.
That's right. China and the United States are now on collision course in trade issues. United States is now imposing about $6 billion penalty on exports from China.
Wow.
And China is responding in kind. So this is a direct confrontation between two supergiants in the global trading system. And this is a significant development, but at the same time, they know that they will lose at the end of the day. So I think probably the two countries will try to negotiate, try to work something out, and that's maybe something that's happening now, and that's what is being reported by Wall Street Journal and others. So I hopefully the negotiation can work, could work between the two countries, and then they try to find some common ground so that they can avoid direct collision between them.
It's still going to be a long way to go.
Long way to go.
Yeah.
Long way to go.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight today.
Great to be here. Thank you.
And that does it from me. But we'll be back here tomorrow at the same time for more news updates. So don't forget to tune in then. Thanks for watching and see you soon.